Hi guys, I'm Saumya and I'm back again with another video. I hope you're all well and safe. If you are an old subscriber, then welcome back, and if you are someone new, then I talk a lot about books on this channel. So if you are a book lover and a reader or want to become one, then do hit that subscribe button and also press the bell icon. So 2020 is finally coming to an end. It seems a bit unbelievable because it had seemed like this year was never going to end. I'm a bit nervous for 2021 to be honest, but keeping that aside, today's video is about my top 10 reads of 2020. Do not forget to let me know your 10 best reads of 2020. So let's get started. The first book is Long Burn by Joe Baker. So this is the reimagining of Pride and Prejudice from the servant's perspective. Now I love Pride and Prejudice. It's one of my all-time favorite books. So I had a lot of expectations from Long Burn and it completely lived up to those expectations. So in Long Burn, the central character is a girl called Sarah who is a servant or a domestic help in the Long Burn estate, which is the estate of Mr. and Mrs. Bennet. So in Pride and Prejudice, we get to read about everything that's grand, because it mostly focuses on rich people. In Long Burn, we get to read the same story but from the servant's perspective, because of which the story is not as grand. In fact, it presents a dark reality of those times. And once you get into this book, you completely forget about everything else because it's quite entertaining in its own right. It has the element of romance as well, so there is that spark in the story. The next book is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. So this book is non-fiction, and in this book, Viktor E. Frankl has talked about his experience of surviving the concentration camps because he was a Holocaust survivor, and in addition to that, he was also a neurologist and a psychiatrist. In this book, he has talked about the mindsets of the camp inmates. The main message in this book is that one should always be hopeful, and one can be hopeful for the future no matter how bad the circumstances are, if one can find meaning in one's suffering. So this book resonated with me a lot and it impacted me a lot because I'm somebody who tends to get anxious many times, and I tend to feel that situation is getting out of hand. In this book, it basically talks about that no matter how bad the situation seems to be, your spiritual and mental freedom is your own. Now obviously that is easier said than done, but this book is so convincing that you actually believe it and you actually try to work towards it. The next book is Lone Fox Dancing, My Autobiography by Ruskin Bond. So I am a huge fan of Ruskin sir's writing, and reading his autobiography was such a delightful experience for me. You see, Ruskin sir has written so many short stories and novellas, and in many of those cases they are semi-autobiographical, but it is never specified which is the fiction part and which is the reality part, so you are left guessing. But in case of this autobiography, obviously everything is real, so I was very excited to read it and I loved every bit of this book. It is so interesting from the start to the finish. If you are a fan of his writing, then you should definitely go for this book if you haven't already, because you will not be disappointed. This book has the same vibe that all his other books have, but the only difference is that this one is non-fiction and about his own life, and that makes it better somehow. At least it made it better for me, and there was not even a single moment while reading this book when I got bored. The next three books are the three books from the Winter Night Trilogy by Catherine Arden. I'm including all three books in today's video because all three books are equally amazing in their own way. Now if you are somebody who loves to read fantasy and if you haven't read the Winter Night Trilogy by Catherine Arden, then you are missing out on something absolutely fantastic, so go for it. And if you are somebody who's not particularly into fantasy but you want to read something great that is going to blow your mind, go for the Winter Night Trilogy because it's not going to disappoint you at all. So the three books are, the first one is The Bear and the Nightingale, the second book is The Girl in the Tower, and the third book is The Winter of the Witch. All three books are equally amazing, and on the whole this is a stunning story. So this story is taking place in medieval Russia and it begins in a village in the northern Russia. The village is called Lesnaya Zemlya. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but that's the spelling. I'm just pronouncing it according to the spelling. So this story is about a girl named Vasya who's different from everybody around her. Now Vasya is not exactly a beautiful or a pretty child, but she's definitely striking with her green eyes and her long hair. and Vasya is different from other people because she is able to see creatures that other people are not. Now Vasya really stands out, and because of that she gets a lot of attention, but not always positive, and a lot of the attention that she gets is quite harmful actually, because she's often treated like an outcast and she faces a lot of challenges. But the best part about her character is that she is so strong in her character and she has such strength of spirit that it's really inspiring. Also, this story has everything that you can expect a great fantasy series to have. It has a lot of magic. This book has brilliant writing that completely sweeps you off your feet as a reader. This trilogy has a lot of adventure going on, a lot of danger, a lot of characters that get introduced along the story that become dear to you as a reader, or even if they don't become dear to you, you definitely form an opinion about them because you get so invested in the story. Also, there are quite a few unexpected twists and turns, so that keeps you hooked to the story. On the whole, while reading these books, I had only one thought running through my mind, and that thought was that had I missed out on this trilogy, it would have been a really sad thing for me. It would have totally been my loss as a reader. This was like my mini love letter to Catherine Arden for writing such great books, and please read this trilogy if you haven't. Please go for it. The next book is Kim Ji-young, born 1982, by Cho Nam-joo. So this story is taking place in South Korea, and it's a story about Ji-young, who is a 33-year-old woman. Now this book is fiction, but it definitely reads like a non-fiction. I did not read it actually, I listened to this as an audiobook, and this is not a happy book at all. In fact, it makes you depressed because it's a story about how Kim Ji-young's mental health deteriorates as a result of the continued misogyny and sexism that she faces all through her life because of the gender inequality in South Korea. Now, there were many moments in this book where I felt triggered. If you want to read a book that is going to be unpleasant but very important, then you can go for this book. But if you are in that state of mind where your mental health is kind of fragile and you want to read something happy, then don't go for this book because it's kind of strong. But do keep this book in mind because it is important all the same. The next book is The Complete Mouse by Art Spiegelman. So this is a graphic novel and this book is non-fiction. So this book is Vladek Spiegelman's account of how he survived the Holocaust, and it has been told by Art Spiegelman through text and illustrations. In the illustrations, the Nazis are represented by cats and Jews are represented by mice. If you can procure it somehow, then you definitely should, whether it is by purchasing it or by borrowing it or getting it from a library, whatever, because this is the kind of book that you should not miss out on. While reading this graphic novel, you cannot expect that it's going to get over very quickly just because it's a graphic novel, because trust me, it has a lot of text, and also this book is a heavy read for sure. When I was reading it, I was in that mindset where I felt that yes, it's a very serious read, but I don't feel like crying. But before I knew it, I was bawling my eyes out. So Vladek Spiegelman was Art Spiegelman's father. So this book also talks about Art Spiegelman's troubled relationship with his father. So there was that undertone as well. So this book definitely has many layers, and when you are done with this book, you're not able to forget about it at all. The next book is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. So this is a story about a girl named Xiomara Batista who is in high school and who belongs to a Dominican family, and she has a very religious and a strict mother. So Xiomara's character was that of a girl that I personally did not relate to at all, but I was still rooting for her, and I think that's beautiful. That is why this book is a part of this video, because even though I was reading about a character that I did not relate to, I was still so invested in her story because her story was so compelling to read. Now Xiomara is a very beautiful and an attractive girl, and she gets a lot of unwanted male attention, but she does not let that bring her down. She fights her way through the world because she's such a strong character, and that's so inspiring. Also, it's a story about her love life, her relationship with her parents, and her love for poetry, and how she finds solace in her writing. All of that makes the story so moving. When you are reading the story, it's such a journey. You are with Xiomara all through the story and you want her to really succeed, and I think that's just wonderful. Next book is Cards on the Table by Agatha Christie. So this one is a murder mystery, of course, and I had read an Agatha Christie book after quite some time and I absolutely loved it. So a man named Mr. Shaitana, who has a very theatrical personality and who definitely loves drama, invites 8 people to his house for dinner. Now the Belgian detective Hercule Poirot is one of the guests. So while the guests are playing bridge at his house, Mr. Shaitana gets murdered. and 4 people are the main suspects and the investigation begins. So that's the story. It's fast paced, it has ample suspense, and it has unexpected twists and turns. I mean, if you are looking to read a book by Agatha Christie apart from the obvious choices, then you can go for Cards on the Table, because I don't see a lot of people talking about this book in particular, and this book deserves all the love. So that's it. These were my 10 best reads of 2020. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a like and do not forget to leave a comment. That's it for today's video, and I'll see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye, take care and stay safe.